Morning, everyone. July 22nd, 2020. Shakespeare Sonnet 121. Now, this is a tricky sonnet. Not so much in the recitation of the sonnet, but in the content of the sonnet, because it is incredibly poignant and related to today's world. Now, I'm not going to take a side on this issue. I'm going to try to present it as neutrally as I can. But in some, Shakespeare is railing against what we would today call the cancel culture. He's writing in this sonnet that, let me start at the end of the analysis, that if you're going to be accused of something, you might as well have done it. And in this case, the accusation is fornication, which, is something like adultery at the time, for sex before marriage or outside of marriage. And if you're getting accused of it, you might as well have done it. Or if you're getting accused of something, you need to know that you have done it. Maybe you haven't. So this really sticks in the craw of what's going on today. And I take no sides on it. Either you take a firm position one way or another, and I do, but here's not the place for it. There's another little deep dive into Shakespeare saying, or at least the analysis of this saying, if you're doing something, but you're doing it for love or for dedication or for conviction, then you should be forgiven for the results. Which I think in general we can all disagree with, that the ends don't justify the means. Even though there's an argument out today that I heard on a podcast this morning, in an article that suggests that it does. And this is the we controversy in Canada, that all the good stuff they do supersedes the nefarious shenanigans behind the scenes. And I weave in and out of where we are on that. I don't think Trudeau should be forgiven, and I'm a huge fan. And I don't think we is a terrible organization, but they do terrible things. With Sir John A. Macdonald, did great things for our country and absolutely deplorable things to the people of this country. His hatred of blacks, Jews, and indigenous people is reprehensible, and it needs to be known. Some of our famous poets, I took a poetry class in University of Canadian Poetry. Do you think we studied the background of F.R. Scott, Duncan Campbell Scott, all these Canadian poets who had absolutely terrible backgrounds, some of slavery, some of indigenous torture? We studied the poetry. We studied the poem out of context of the person. You may argue that's what you should do. Gian Gameshi, brilliant interviewer, absolute incredible radio talent, reprehensible person. So we toss all this stuff in the air, and it comes out in a Shakespeare poem, a sonnet, number 121. The depth of this analysis and all the present stuff that's going on in our world today, and the amazing podcasts and articles I've been reading, go to the Quillette. It's brilliant. You have to. It almost hurts the brain to think that we have not changed as a people. We're polemic, we're polarized, we have a difficult time parsing arguments, and rather than seeing the shades of gray, we pick one side and stick to it and ignore the other facts and elements of it. And here Shakespeare does the same thing. Here's 121. Sorry about the diatribe. "'Tis better to be vile than vile esteemed, when not to be receives reproach of being, and the just pleasure lost, which is so deemed, not by our feelings, but by others' seeing. For why should others' false, adulterate eyes give salutations to my sportive blood? Or on my frailties why are frailer spies, which in their wills count bad what I think good? No, I am that I am, and they that level at my abuses reckon up their own. I may be straight, though they themselves be bevel. By their ranks thoughts my deeds must not be shown. Unless this general evil they maintain, all men are bad, and in their badness reign. Thank you. Have a great